Greetings, Otaku Faithful. Thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, it's Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, and I'm here to bring you the first in my new favorite Villains video segment right here on Otaku Assemble Weekly. Now, I mentioned in my previous video, the first in my new favorite heroes videos, that my favorite heroes and my favorite villain video segments were inspired by, shout out to my man Ziploc Gory, his characters and why I like them videos. Now, I'm a huge fan of those videos, and so I thought, well, let's see if I can try this out on my channel, where I would pretty much make videos on some of my favorite heroes and favorite villains of various series. Now, they won't just be limited to like anime or manga, cartoons. No, I'm talking about favorite heroes, favorite villains, favorite characters, period. So to kick this thing off, I decided, to do a little something for my Game of Thrones fans, because I don't want you all to think that I forgot about y'all, and vice versa. I don't want y'all to forget about me in this little dry spell of ours until season 2 kicks off in spring of 2012. So I decided to kick off my favorite hero and favorite villain segments with 2 of my favorite characters from the Game of Thrones series. Now, in my favorite hero segment, I discussed my all-time favorite Game of Thrones character so far, as of season 1, and that was Ned Stark. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about one of my favorite villains, and that is Lord Tywin Lannister. Now, like I said in my previous video, this video will only address what has occurred in season 1 and in book 1, because I haven't, season 2 isn't out yet, and I already said that I wouldn't read any of the other books until the seasons for said books were released. And I have yet to read the Game of Thrones novel, book 1. I have yet to read it, so this video is just going to be based off of season 1 of Game of Thrones. And also, if you are someone who has yet to get into the series and you want to be spoiler free, don't recommend you watch this video, because this video is going to contain season 1 spoilers. But now let's go ahead and let's address Lord Tywin Lannister, because he is a character, he's a villain that I haven't really talked too much about in my season 1 reviews. Now, yeah, Tywin, he is not my all-time, favorite villain of the Game of Thrones series. No, I think Cersei still has that. She still has that title. But I do want to talk about Tywin, because I'm very much intrigued by Tywin. We heard, whispers of him in the first few episodes of the season, but we didn't actually see him until, I believe, episode 7 was when we actually got to see him. And since episode 7, he was only in one scene, but already I was intrigued into this character. And we do get to learn a little bit more about him as the course of the season goes by. A few things that we learned about him before he was actually properly introduced into the series is the fact that he doesn't care much for his son Tyrion. Tyrion says that within the first 2 or 3 episodes, and he kind of sends that message home when he makes the comment talking to Jon Snow. Jon tells him, he says, "What would you know about being a bastard?" And he says, "Well, don't you know all dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes?" That alone tells us so much about not only Tyrion, but Tywin as well, and his relationship with Tyrion. And so let's go ahead and we'll fast forward to episode 7, when we actually get to see Tywin properly introduced. He's having a discussion with Jaime, and pretty much he lets Jaime know, it's like, hey, you gotta man up. Time to man up. Stop being a pussy, pretty much. Now, just that scene alone, the way that he interacts with Jaime, we see the clear difference between how he interacts with Jaime, how he interacts with Tyrion, his feeling towards both sons. And it's pretty clear that Jaime is his son. You know, that's his heir. That's his firstborn. I well actually Jaime and Cersei are twins, I believe. And I'm not sure which one of them is the elder. But Jaime is Tywin's, firstborn son, and that's his heir. That's his favorite. That's the one. That's the future head of the Lannister house. So, of course, we see that favoritism. We see it early on. But it's not until later in the season, towards the end of the season, that we actually find out what's Tywin's beef with Tyrion. And we find out it's because Tyrion's mother died giving birth to him. And of course, Tyrion was born, a dwarf. He was disformed. Now, I've said that, I've pretty much given my general thoughts on Tywin in my reviews, but God, to hold a grudge against Tyrion, that whole idea is like, oh, you killed your mother. I'm sorry, but that's that's such a disgraceful, distasteful quality in a character. But it's one that I enjoy in a villain. And that's why Tywin that's why I'm dedicating this video to him. Because like I said, I really, really hate that quality in a person, but I love it in a villain. Because it adds the fuel to the fire. It adds to, that villain's baggage, Why are they so despicable? Why are they the way they are? That adds to it. Now, I will say, what I do like about Tywin is that Tywin, for all intents and purposes, is a mastermind type character. He is the type of character that, is moving the pieces on the chessboard. And I will even go ahead and say, I've said this before, and I'll go ahead and reiterate this again. I think that he is possibly the most clever, if not he is probably the second most clever behind Tyrion, if not the absolute most clever character in the series. As far as I can tell. I mean, you have some clever, backstabbing motherfuckers in this series. We have Lord Varys, you have Littlefinger, you have Cersei, you have, I'll go ahead and I'll throw Jorah. All these type of underhanded type of characters, these brains. Tywin probably has, he probably has a leg up on all of them cats. And you can see it. You can see it, man. You can tell by his demeanor. You can tell by his swagger, just the way he carries himself, the way he acts. Two things that we do learn about Tywin. Number one, Tywin is a military genius. And number two, he is the richest man in the realm. He's the richest man in all of the Seven Kingdoms. And apparently, his bank is rivaled by none. One of the comments about Tywin that I do like is a comment that Robb makes. When he sends a message to Tywin, he tells the Lannister spy, he says, go back to Tywin Lannister and tell him that winter is coming for him. And we'll see whether or not he shits gold. That comment, once again, that says something about Tywin, that says something about his character. It also says something about his reputation. Tywin has that reputation. We all know he's the richest man in the Seven Kingdoms. But also, I think for the most part, we do understand that Tywin is a character that's not to be fucked with. And twice has a Stark challenged Tywin. First, Ned, when he summoned Tywin to King's Landing, and threatened to make him enemy of the crown to answer for his bannermen, that was the first. And second, Robb went to war with Tywin. To say that Tywin is the type of character to be feared, these Starks do not back down from him. And I like that. I like that because eventually, at some point in time, Tywin is going to have to put his fist, he's going to have to put his foot down. He's going to have to send home the message that the Lannister house are not to be opposed. And another thing about Tywin, now this is one thing about him that I don't like. And I'm not talking about I don't like in a good way to say that he's a good villain. It's the fact that he does care too much what people think of him. He takes his reputation very seriously, almost to the part where it's a little sickening. And I don't really care for those type of characters. But once again, that's a quality about him that drives that character and can only make him a better villain. Now, like I said, it's a quality that I don't like and I don't really care for as far as it, I don't really care for, the fact that, he cares so much about his reputation. That makes him a good villain. It does, but like I said, it's an unfavorable trait. But, surprisingly, what we saw at the end of the first season is, and correspondingly at the end of the first book, is that, Tywin was appointed to hand of the king by his grandson. When, once Joffrey became, once he assumed the throne, he appointed Tywin as the hand. Instead, Tywin decided to pass that on to Tyrion. He sent Tyrion to King's Landing in his stead. And we saw that scene where Tywin and Tyrion had like that little, father-son moment. I'm curious to see how that's going to change with season 2. Because I can't help but get the feeling that Tywin is blowing smoke up Tyrion's ass, okay? He only said that shit because Jaime was captured and he fears for Jaime's life, I really wish Tyrion would have told him, it's like, oh, now I'm your son. I'm your son when Jaime's away. That type of shit. Now, whether or not Tywin meant that, we have only yet to see that. But I'm curious to see how that happens. I'm curious to see how that changes with the upcoming seasons. But with that said, not to make this video too long, because I'm trying to break that habit, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wrap this video up. As always, guys, please comment below or video responses. I know I have a shit ton of Game of Thrones fans who do watch my videos, and I'm pretty sure I got some Tywin fans out there, because I know for a fact they're twice back to back. Wow. Ooh, excuse me. But there are Tyrion fans. I'm talking about legions, okay? Legions of Tyrion fans out there. So I know there must be 1 or 2 Tywin fans. By all means, video responses they're welcomed. But let me know, how did I do in this vid? How did I do? Let me know how I did. Because the plan is that to make these vids, monthly. But depending on what occurs at the end of this weekend, they could wind up being weekly videos. Who knows? But like I said, comment below. As always, comment, rate, subscribe, video responses. Want to take this time to remind you guys about the Facebook page, Twitter page, Blog TV, all that jazz, all of which the links are on the YouTube channel. They are also image mapped on the YouTube channel banner. So by all means, guys, feel free to join me there. Not to mention, once again, pay attention to the annotation. Check out my man Ziploc Gory's channel. Top-notch YouTuber. A great guy. Dude knows the shit. And he makes pretty damn good vids. Now, what else can you expect? Wrapping up this week's vids will be my update / announcement video. Please, please, please check that out. And with that said, I'll go ahead and I'll wrap this video up. This is Larry Williams, the OAW Commander-in-Chief. I'm signing off and I will catch you all later. Peace.